In the classroom, students spend more time using their listening and speaking skills than any of the other traditional language skills. Listening is an active skill that requires readers and listeners to construct the meaning of what they're hearing, which really means that one person could say a sentence, but it could be interpreted multiple different ways by different people, including people who speak English. Therefore, it's so important for English language learners students to be able to actively construct meaning through oral English language. And so some key points I found in Wright 2015 about listening and speaking is some things we know from research. The use of English outside of school enhances ELL's oral language development. Use of home language for beginner-level ELLs contributes to their academic development, and English oral language proficiency tests fail to capture the full oral language proficiency of bilingual students. Some other things that strategies and things that other people have come up with to help with ELL students, and even some things that they've noticed. The silent period and wait time. So when an ELL student first begins to learn a new language, many aren't comfortable talking, so many of them will go through a period of where they don't talk, and a lot of teachers take this as that they're shy or that they don't want to talk, or maybe even that they don't like their teacher, so they're choosing not to speak. And so during this time, it is still important for the teacher to talk with the student, even if they are not speaking back. And when they are ready to speak, this will allow the student to process the question or the statement, think of what they want to say in return, and then translate what they want to say. So make sure you give them a little bit of wait time whenever they do begin to talk. And this, once again, is called the silent period and wait time. My next strategy was teacher talks in the classroom. Teachers need to give the opportunity for someone other than themselves the ability to speak freely. The teacher needs to plan more activities that offer more chances to speak and converse with peers. Teachers should challenge ELL and ESL students with complex or open-ended questions that provides them with the chance to process and translate and helps with the students' participation. Teachers should also have a short discussion at the end of the day to see if the students were having trouble with any of the words they learned or need any extra help with pronunciation. And once again, that would be teacher talks in the classroom. The third strategy is correcting student speech errors. Of course, with anyone, not just ELLs, when someone is consistently correcting you when you're talking or interrupting you, that makes someone not want to talk. And so practically, the teacher and the student need to find a happy ground where they both feel comfortable. The student must be comfortable with the teacher correcting them, because if not, it will be a waste of time. Also, student has to have prior knowledge of words, vocabulary, and pronouns, or else it won't matter either way. The teacher and the student need to come together to find an effective way for the teacher to be able to correct the student, so that the student is understanding that the criticism being given isn't personal, it isn't against them, it's that the teacher is genuinely trying to help. And again, with the teacher correcting the student, they need to learn that they can learn from their own mistakes instead of consistently interrupting them and correcting them, and that is called correcting student speech errors. My fourth strategy was productive talk moves. This has 5 subtopics in it: revoicing, repeating, reasoning, adding on, and waiting. Revoicing is where the teacher will repeat the student in a statement or a question depending on the content of the sentence. This allows the teacher to get the correct answer from the student if they felt there was miscommunication. Repeating is where the teacher may ask the student to repeat what the teacher just said in their own words, or what another student said, or ask them to interpret it. Reasoning allows the student to get their own personal thought behind it, and it will help them decide if they agree with something or not. This can also help the teacher. This can also teach the student that it's okay to not agree with something. In some cultures, it is seen as disrespectful to not agree with someone, and so this allows them to voice their own opinions. Adding on is where they can ask the student if they want to add something onto another student's statement or something that the teacher has said. This gives them a little cushion so that they can process and translate. And that is productive talk moves in the classroom. And then my fifth strategy was vocabulary development. This teacher, student, and parent should all come together to discuss how much they think the student can handle a week or month or even the entire school year. This should be done for the student because it is stressful enough being an ELL or ESL student without having to retain 100 words a week. So it is up to the teachers, student, and families to come together and make a plan. And of course, there are plenty of different ways to help the student retain the knowledge that they're learning that teachers should know. These could be note cards, binders, notebooks, or even using a computer or a tablet. Whatever the student would find to be the best way should be offered. I would ask the student to restate it in their own words, then ask them for a picture or descriptive sentence about it. Once they have these three, offer them an activity that helps them retain it with the help of their notes. Once this is done, we can ask them to discuss it in pairs or small groups and then challenge them with a game or small assignment. Some teaching activities I came up with were 20 questions. Everyone knows the simple game of 20 questions. You go back and forth and between two students or more and you ask questions. But for ELL students, this helps them use both their speaking and listening skills. So an ELL student would have to use their knowledge of the English language to come up with a question to ask their partner, and then the partner would have to use their listening skills to be able to translate what their partner is saying and then to comprehend and then come up with an answer in return. And so they would go back and forth, and this is meeting a Common Core standard. A second activity I came up with was the game Headbands. This is also a great game for answering and asking questions. So a student will put the picture on top of their head, and that student that is trying to guess what's on top of their head, they can say things like, am I a mammal? Can I swim? And the other student would be required to answer in a complete sentence. So once again, they're both required to use their listening and speaking skills. And at the very bottom of my page, you can click on the YouTube video. It has 5 more ESL speaking and listening activities. And then scrolling down a little bit more, I found some research on the importance of listening and speaking. And then at the very bottom, you can choose to read about 2 other ELL topics, writing for linguistically diverse students and reading for ELL students.